Hello YouTube, this is Hyboman here, back with the second in what is going to be a series of Transformers Prime toy reviews. And I am here today with the toy of a very, very popular character from the show. In my opinion, the best version of the character they've ever had, and thus one of the most popular toys that started showing up in the first edition waves, and now is getting a brand new Voyager toy all to himself. I am speaking, of course, about Transformers Prime Starscream. What we have here today is the Cyberverse version, which is somewhere between what an old Legends size would be and where an old Scout class toy would be. He is the same kind of jet that he is in the show. The first thing you're probably going to notice are the translucent red weapons, which actually do a good job of mimicking his weapons from the show. You have, on each one, the shape of the null ray that his arms transform into, as well as the missile that his show model has attached to the arm. He has one on each side that just peg in right there underneath the wings. You can see if I take those off that it is actually a very slim jet. There's not a lot of undercarriage under here. And it's very accurate to the show with a few exceptions. The main ones are here in the nose cone. It's a little bit longer back here than it is in the show. It's not as much of an actual cone, only because at this size they have to give up a few complexities in the transformation in order to make it work. Also, you can see that the legs are folded up back here and sort of sticking up above the top of the jet. But other than that, it looks very much like Starscream. Same colors. The fin back here is a rubber plastic, as well as up here in the white part of the nose. It's a little bit tougher than this, a little bit more dense, but it's still a softer material. To get him transformed, the first thing you're going to do is unpeg this whole section, which will eventually become the arms. So you start by just unpegging it from here. There's a hole right there that these pegs go into, as well as this translucent red peg, which pegs through this little half hole here. So you just extend the arms out, then we come around to the back. The legs, again, are not entirely attached in there, but they do stay put. So what happens is, if you can see, there's this little translucent red peg that slips inside the foot. So it holds it pretty tightly in place until you just deliberately move it out of there. Straighten his legs, take the rocket booster, jet engine I should say, just unpeg that and flip this around. It's just on a rotation there. It will lock into place both here and here. You'll feel it just stop. Then, coming up to the arms, we have a bit of, I'm not sure if it's intentional, but sort of automorph. You take the shoulders, pull them apart, and because there are little tabs inside that lock these into the place of the robot mode, his head pops up just a little bit. And then you flip that around into place. Then you can take his arms, position them how you want, come around to the back, fill in the gap with the little backpack piece made up from the engine. Take the wings, fold them up, and again on this side, up and up. And there we have Starscream in his robot mode. I was actually very surprised by how accurate this is to the design, given that the first edition Starscream is a very complex transformation compared to this. And even for a toy that's so small, he actually has really, really good posability. So his neck here is just on the up and down transformation joint, but something that I've noticed, if you look here, his shoulders are very wide compared to his head, and it sort of makes him look, I don't know, I think it kind of looks fat like this. So if you just tilt it up the slightest bit, it actually gives him a little bit more of a visible neck, and it sort of helps everything look a little bit more slender below. His shoulders are on a ball joint, which actually can rotate back and forth pretty well. You do have full 360 degrees going around. The elbow here is actually double jointed, so his arm can go all the way up there. And there is no bicep swivel, but like I said, there's enough inward-outward motion to sort of approximate one. Again, down here on the hips, ball joints, and because of the transformation, you have knees that bend all the way up, and they don't really look all that broken either when they're bent all the way up. And his feet even have rotations just horizontally. so they can actually be positioned for some stability. A few details I want to point out. His head sculpt is actually really, really nice. It's showing up kind of blurry. Don't know if I can... No. That's not really making it look any better, is it? No. Okay, well, it's blurry, but it still does look very much like Starscream. They got his lips, and the lines coming down from his eyes actually detailed in there, which unfortunately you can't see. His head crest there is red. His hands, although they're built into the sides of the nose, they are actually fully sculpted with arm pieces, individually sculpted fingers, the thumb, the opening in the middle. And they really did do their best to make it look like it's his arm, even if it's obviously not. And he still retains his boot design that he had from the show. Other than that, the main detail of this toy, of course, is the chest, which, as far as I know, is supposed to intentionally resemble movie Starscream's face, with eyes here, the little nose, mouthpiece here, and then this down here. Now, all this translucent plastic, including the stuff on the weapons, and including this little peg back here, which was used in the transformation, that is apparently going to be part of some big line-wide gimmick that's going to work with the big playsets. And I'm not sure exactly how that's going to work, and I don't really care, mostly because I'm not interested in getting those big playset toys. But what it does mean for this toy by itself is that it does have light piping. So if I can... No, it's not working. If you hold him up to a light, which you can see it through here, the eyes will actually light up and his stomach will light up there, which is really, really cool. It's really cool that even though his head is so small, they could still work in some kind of light piping on him. And when it doesn't work, his face still, looks vibrant and nice because of all the paint on it. Bringing the weapons back into it, there's a peg on the outside of each arm, where you can just go ahead and peg those on, one on this side and one on the other, and he gets his no-ray / rocket weapons. You get one on each arm, so it does resemble the play feature of the original G1 Starscream and the classics and all of those. And in addition to that, he also has holes in his hands sculpted so that if you want, he can, not as tightly, but he can hold them like he would a normal weapon. Now, I'm not sure if this last part is intentional, but there's clearly a sculpted peg of some kind back here that is the right shape to fit into his hand. Now, I'm probably just making this up because I am a fan of the Unicron Trilogy Swordsman Starscream, but he can actually hold these pretty solidly like this, and he can do that on both sides. And, Season 2, we're just starting things off. I'm pretty sure he's not going to get swords of any kind. That doesn't seem relevant to this Starscream's design. And I'm thinking this probably just has something more to do with the bigger gimmick that I talked about with the playsets. But if you want, you can pretend that he has swords. He will hold them that way. Like I said, I got this guy sort of as a placeholder while I've been waiting to pick up the first edition Deluxe Starscream, which I did, and I will be reviewing later on in this series of videos. And I do not regret picking this little guy up. I was actually inspired to do so by another little Starscream that I picked up, which was the Transformers animated activator Starscream, which came with the Leader Megatron as a kind of value pack. I don't really remember what it was. But I remember I got that little Starscream, and I wasn't planning to really like it. And then it turns out that I think I like it even more than the Leader Class Megatron. It's a great representation of animated Starscream. It actually looks better than the Voyager toy, and the gimmick is actually really, really cool and works every time. And that inspired me to pick this guy up, and I would recommend you do too. If you're waiting for first edition Starscream, or you have the Voyager in your area and don't want it, or if you just want a little Starscream to mess with and not, worry about screwing up an expensive first edition toy, this is an excellent way to get a hold of everyone's favorite con. That about does it for this video. I am Highball Man with Cyberverse Starscream, and I am signing off.